So with USA Today Network Wisconsin, we've been writing about youth mental health for a few years with a series called Kids in Crisis. And through that series, we were discovering how many barriers to mental health care there are, one of the greatest being stigma. And we were doing events around the state, and people were asking us to come to their communities and do more events. So we thought if we could do a film, we could really bring the message into even more communities. And in some of the research we did, we learned that the most effective way for young people to hear these messages are from other young people, and it's really powerful for them to hear from people who've been in really hard points, but then also moved through that and been really resilient. And these four people here are so resilient and have such great stories, and were my top four picks of who I wanted to feature in the documentary, and they all said yes. So yeah, it's really hard, I think, to share such private stories so publicly. So I'm really grateful that they all participated, and so proud of them, and happy that all four of you all could be here today. So to start it off, I'll ask the first question, and then I think we'll be opening it up to other questions. So I wanted to ask, in your own lives, what has been most helpful to you in living through mental health challenges, and what do you think young people today need more support with? What kind of support do people need today?
I think for myself, being able to stop with my mental health, being able to stop and just really halt myself in my daily life and just look around and process everything for a second, because sometimes I get overwhelmed and then my emotions get really jumbled up and I'm not really I just get flustered. So being able to really recognize exactly what I'm going through in those moments so I can confront them and work through them to make it better for myself. For support, I would say validation is always my thing. Validation is always going to be my thing, especially coming from where I was. I was very afraid and I created a persona of this is me, and so being weak was really hard. And people that validated me, that didn't make me feel weak, but made me feel like other people feel that way too, and then it happens, and that it's normal, made me feel 10 times better.
For me, it was the support I've really gotten from family and friends. That's what kind of helped me get through those times, was the support I've gotten from family and friends. For my recommendation for people that are dealing with mental health issues, I highly recommend DBT, which is dialectical behavioral therapy. And it was actually originally used to treat people with personality disorder, but it's also been proven useful for people with suicidal ideations. And I believe that everybody needs DBT. And it should be taught like one of the core classes, because it can help children with their coping skills and help them learn how to deal with their emotions. And I believe it should be taught to everyone so that they can know how to deal with their emotions. It should be taught like core classes, kind of like math or science. So that's what I think that could really help people.
For me, my biggest support was definitely my family and my coaches that I've had. But in addition, I also went to cognitive therapy and talk therapy and did that for a long time. And then I've been on medication for a long time, which also helped. And I remember when I started taking meds, I was scared that that would change who I was, and I wouldn't be the same Barrett I am now. And I was really nervous as a kid to say, oh my gosh, I'm gonna take these medications that are gonna make my anxieties better, but it's not gonna change me. That really confused me. But there are a lot of misconceptions out there about medication and that kind of thing. But I'm living proof that it works and it makes you feel so much better. But also just talking it out, having your support system and that kind of thing. I think a big thing we need to work on as a society is just having more open conversations in a school setting and that kind of thing. I think it's very closed off, and you kind of need to be, the perfect straight A student, not have do a bunch of extracurriculars, be a National Honor Society, not have a lot of other issues and that kind of thing. And so I think being able to have not necessarily more counseling services, but more peer-to-peer things and that kind of thing, I think that's very helpful for students to be able to talk to their peers about, what they're going through and that kind of thing.
So, like pretty much everybody else has said, the having family support you is huge, and friends. And I think that one of the big things that people kind of skip over is just kind of listening. I think a lot of people just kind of skip right to let's fix it. Here's a solution, and that's not the way that you go about gaining someone's trust and gaining somebody's to be somebody's shoulder. You kind of need to sit and listen first, and kind of after they've gotten everything out, you can guide the conversation and kind of just be like, okay, so this is the problem, and I understand where you're coming from, and even if I don't understand it, I accept where you're coming from, and let's move on from here and try and help you out of that situation. So.
I'm so proud of these young people, and every time we see each other, we like to hug, and we've really gotten to know them. We worked on this documentary for 6 months, and appreciate the support of our general manager, Bodan Zachary, and folks at USA Today and Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel for supporting all of us working on this project. I do want to point out the man behind the camera, Brian, was one of the videographers, and we can't do this without a team. And Brian and another videographer, Justin, and our fabulous editor, Darren, helped really bring these stories to the screen. And so I wanted to say that. But we worked on this for 6 months and really got to know these young people. And again, their honesty and their courage is really what I think what helps other young people. One of the things we wanted to do is just have their voices in this documentary. A lot of times when you listen to documentaries, there's a narration, somebody else's voice, and we didn't want that. We really wanted to be them because we're hoping that this continues to be shown in schools. And again, the whole peer-to-peer, discussion is super important. So, kids don't want to hear some other, older voice or whatever. They want to hear them. And that's what our goal was in this documentary. And so we've gotten a lot of feedback and a lot of good feedback. We're very happy that something like this can make a difference and continue to make a difference. And, one of the challenges was we have 4 wonderful young people who have a lot to say. And we needed to keep this to just under 30 minutes because if it's played in schools, teachers don't have a lot of time, right? And so you want to be able to play this and have some discussion. And so, we could have easily done an hour documentary on each of them. But so it was a little bit of a challenge, but we got it done. And they were very patient with the crew and things that we, had to have them do. But again, Thank you, guys. You're wonderful.
First of all, I want to thank all of you. I have a student in high school in your age group, and so I know what you're facing. I hear about it at home. And I thank you for all sharing what helps you with resiliency. I wanted to ask you, I represent the Oconomowoc area. This evening, we are going to make local constituents aware of a resource guide that we developed, really using resources first spearheaded by Representative Ballweg's office. And so would you talk to us a little bit about, what a resource guide might do for you all? And would it be best in electronic form, paper form? What would work?
I think a guide actually is a really great idea. I think that it gives people a chance to have a good base of knowing, ideas of what can help. Or, sometimes you don't know where to start. A lot of families, people, when those issues arise or, where do you go? You don't know what to, you have no clue. It's not, you don't have a handbook for those things. And I think for youth, I think electronically is really a great way. Because I'm not going to lie, even myself, sometimes I spend too much time on my phone. And I got to remember to look up. So what happens when I come across a good a resource guide that could really help me at that time? And sometimes, like myself, when I experience extreme depression, I like to bury myself in my electronics. It takes me away from everything else. So I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I also think it's a good idea. I think electronically is also a huge thing. I think that's really helpful. But I also think that it also puts out the awareness there and the idea that, okay, if there is a handbook out there, you know, that's made by, you know, all these important people, you know, in my city and stuff like that, that shows, oh my gosh, I really am not alone. And like, I don't mean that to sound cliche, but like, I really am not alone in like this. If there's, you know, this many steps being put in place and there's an app in place or there's this handbook and that kind of thing, it really shows you that, you know, this is normal and it's okay to have these struggles and it's okay to ask for that help, and having that handbook that easily accessible I think is super, super beneficial.
I think it's important too for families, not just for the person who's struggling, especially for youth, because I know kind of like when I came out, it was all up to us to figure out where to go, and I know a lot of people don't go to the right places, and it's
Discouraging.
what?
It can be very discouraging.
Yeah.
I've watched a lot of people, I've like grown up in the system, like families, even other kids, like in the system, and families like be very frustrated because they don't know how to help their own child, and they don't know how to help. And so a lot of times people look for resources like that, and like you have that opportunity to look at that and then learn more for yourself, and then you can go to your child, even learn more and figure out how you can best approach your kid.
Yeah, it's important for parents to have a solid idea where to go, especially if they're not super tech savvy. But if there's like an easy resource online that they can, when they look something up, like resources in my area, that would pop up, and it would be an easy, like, one-step process.
More accessible.
Yeah.
But I also agree on the paper form, because I even to this day have a lot of friends too that I may have worked a lot on being able to be an adult and get where I am, but a lot of my people that I grew up with, I don't have the same resources that I did to get where I am right now. And they don't have phones. Some of them don't even have cell phones, or they have an Android that someone gave them. So those electronic pieces aren't always going to help some people. So it's always good to have a paper form in really accessible places that maybe those people go to each day. You know, like things
Like the library.
the library or different places that they maybe say you don't have a phone, you're gonna need Wi-Fi. Where can you go get that? You know, places where that's accessible.
On our Suicide Prevention Task Force website, we do have a resources tab. And one of the things we have linked on it is the Mental Health America website, which does provide a link to resources by every county in the state of Wisconsin. So it's the struggle of knowing where to go, but I think through the resources that we're trying to provide with the task force, that's one of the charges that we're going to have with the permanent office in the Department of Health Services, that they provide that help to be able to get local resources out there. And as I said, Mental Health America, a resource on our tab, does have county by county resources that can be accessed. So thank you for the question, and thank you all for endorsing another one of the proposals we have in our task force.
Just to reiterate what you were saying in regards to the guide, I think it'd be really great, because something that me and Alex were kind of dealing with is his platform that he has with his business, Build-A-Bow. When this documentary came out, we kind of felt like he had a very big responsibility to respond to a lot of the supporters and fan mail that was coming in, and he wanted to be really supportive with kind of the divisive issues and the kind of emails that were coming in, and we wanted to make sure that we were responding appropriately, being that we're not healthcare providers or professionals. We don't want to give that type of advice. So he created a platform actually right directly on his website so that people could actually connect with him through letters or mailing. And then also he has a tab that has over 50 links for if you're dealing with some, suicide ideations, or if you're being bullied, or if you're having a mental health crisis, or you're having depression. It's just trying to, like a platform. So when you said that about the guide, I thought it was perfect that you mentioned that. And also social media, like you said, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, all those are readily used by teenagers and youth, 7th graders. Alex now just turned 13, and he's able to have his own Facebook with community standards, so it's perfect.
Thanks for being here. My name's Morna, and I work in higher ed with Vicki Martin over there, but I have a lot of questions related to work, but actually I don't want to ask you any of those right now. I'm going to use your guidebook, representative, and some other resources I think that are going to be made available to me soon. But my question for you is as a parent. So maybe it's a question for you too. I have 3 kids who are teenagers in early 20s, and I walk the path every day about how to talk to them about anything without being extremely annoying. And so intellectually, issues of bullying, suicide, gender identity have all come up in our household, but it is a very intellectual sort of, did you see that article in the newspaper? What would be your advice to parents about how they can just make themselves available as a presence, as a potential listening point, without, in the least annoying way possible?
I'm gonna answer that because I am one of those people. I am that kid. I struggled with that for a long time. I just, yeah. And what helped me a lot with taking it is actually like the people in my life sometimes not actually directing it to me. Like it's it's just something that I felt like eventually I think I caught on, but like, cause I started to notice all of these things are like pertaining to my life and things that I'm struggling with. But just like making those conversations really normal. Like just bringing them up, like just not even like, maybe not bringing up like super specific situations, but being very generalized and then just, oh, hey, like, cause growing up to be an adult, early 20s myself, I had never learned how to be an adult, man. Like I didn't know any of this stuff. I grew up in a place where people put food on my plate and told me when to go to sleep and told me what to take. That's it. I didn't know how to make anything. I didn't know any of the responsibilities. And so for me, being the way I am, when people are trying to tell me, hey, like, that's not really how you do that, or like, hey, like, maybe we should talk about that, I'm instantly like, no, like, because that makes me feel weak. Like, I don't know what I'm doing, and like, I don't like that feeling. So like, being able to talk about it made me feel more comfortable talking about it, and then eventually I started kind of like, hey, so remember we were talking about the other day, like, feeling a little more comfortable because it's not such an itchy topic.
I kind of have the opposite experience. My mom and I always have a super open dialect, and we always, if there's always something going on, like we've agreed that it's gotten to the point where she can be very blunt with me and say, there are times where she'll text me at school and she'll be like, how are you doing, that kind of thing, and I'll say, I'm okay, and she'll text me the word, are you suicidal, or are you depressed, and that kind of thing. And so, like, I think, yes, at some point it's helpful to, kind of just talk about, oh, this is out there, like, I'm always here, like, if you need this, like, bring it up whenever. But then at the same point, like, I think it's also very helpful to, like, be direct.
Blunt. I think being blunt, yeah, I agree. I think being blunt is very important, but I think for me, like, it was getting to being comfortable with that being blunt. It was, like, I didn't always have, like, open communication, and so I think that's, like, very different in those ends, but I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, I think the bluntness of it, honestly, like, it takes you aback at times. You're like, oh my God, like, they just asked if I was suicidal. But, like, then you think about, like, all the things that are going on in, like, the world around you, and you think, like, oh, that's, like, a very valid question, because, if you think you can, like, if you see, like, somebody at school, for example, or something, and you see that they're, they've been down, or their mood's changed, or this kind of thing, and you walk up to them and say, are you suicidal, that could be the difference between them saying, like, oh my God, yeah, I need help, or like them just like holding that in and bottling it up. And so, like, I think for you, I don't know, my mom can probably say more, but I don't know, I always get annoyed with her too, she'll call me, are you okay? Are you okay? I'll be like, yeah, Mom, I'm fine, like, I just want a nap, like, that kind of thing. But I think, it as we may come off that you guys are annoying, it's like, we do, like, we take it in. Like, we appreciate you being there and being able to say, bring up the topics all the time, like, to keep that open dialect, I think, is super important.
Me and my mom, we really didn't open up a conversation. And until I saw her, like, doing art and stuff, that was the really only way that me and my mom bonded and started a relationship, was through things that we both like. Like, for me and my mom, it was art. And once we bonded a close enough relationship, we started to have those open conversations. So I started to open up to my mom because of art.
I was a one-on-one kid.
One-on-one.
I had a really hard time with, like, growing up, like, in school even. I had been, like, I sat in, like, a separate area and everything, but, like, when you talk about that, like, it makes me think, like, when you said, oh, I'm jumbled. I apologize.
The art thing?
Yes, that's what I was saying. The art thing, like, because I wasn't one, like, when I spent more time with someone, even if it was just, like, them just wanting to just be like, hey, what are you doing? Like, come and sit next to me. And I'm just like, why are you by me? But I'm just like, okay, feeling more comfortable. Like, those conversations and that comfort zone really opened me up.
I think that one of the biggest things that parents have to do before bringing up a conversation is making sure that they're educated on it themselves. If you go into it, or even going into it and saying, I'm not sure about this, let's figure it out together, or like, let's look it up together because I'm curious. One of the other things, and I think parents make a mistake about this often with little kids and teenagers and young adults alike, is parents and adults tend to treat kids like kids or talk to them like they're like little kids. I think that it's important to just talk like they're adults, even if they're like 5 and 6. Like, I watch 3 little kids, and I just talk to them like they're adults, and they're very receptive to it because it's like I'm their friend and we're equals, and it's easier to talk to an equal than to somebody that you view as superior to you.
Mm-hmm.
We have another question. Oh, yes, please.
I'm Barrett's mom. I'm the one that
Yep, we have another mom.
Hi,
She has a rebuttal.
it's me. I think so for Barrett, she has always been very, we call her our old soul, but very similar to what TJ said, she didn't get to be a little kid much. We used the words all the time, and she did not like it. We were in her face using those words. Do you feel suicidal? Do you feel anxious? Tell me what you're feeling like. And there were times where she was like, but the thing is, she was my kid, and I knew. And so whether you like it or not, we're going to have this conversation. And we're going to use big words. We're going to use the real words. And she has siblings that we use the real words with, and they're little. And we use those words. And mental health is equally as important in our house as your physical health or your dental health. And this isn't anything that we need to be ashamed of. And I think that started really with my peers, because we tried to cover that up. If you're different in high school, if you didn't, you had a problem, we didn't talk about that. And so I decided with Barrett that I wasn't going to do that anymore, that this is real. Everybody felt it. Even back when I was in high school 30-some years ago, I had one suicide for every year I was in high school, and nobody talked about it. And it was horrible. And so whether she liked it or not, I was in her face. And we were absolutely on her side. And we had to be her biggest advocate. There were times where she tried to, sorry, I'm going to tell this story. She tried to jump out of the car one time going to therapy. Physically, I had her by her shirt at 10 years old because she wasn't going in. And so I locked her in the car, and I went in and talked to her therapist myself, and she ended up coming out. But that was like a great teaching moment, though, too, for her. And so she always gets mad at me because I always say, this is a good teaching moment. And she's like, oh, my God. Here we go again. Like, she couldn't wait to go back to school this fall, which broke my heart. But so I think that whether she liked it or not, I didn't care if I was annoying. And we just talked about it. There's mental health. People, sometimes you're born in the body that you don't feel like you're in. Sometimes people are different. Sometimes people you don't know where they come from. And that started from when she was a tiny, I always used to say to her, and she would get so mad at me, I'd say, you don't know what's happening behind closed doors. So be mindful of that. So I think it starts when they're little. And that was the big thing, I think, with her. And now she's so cute and perfect. Oh, just kidding.
TJ's mom. When TJ came out, Eric, my husband, and I, we were just so, there was so much we needed to learn. And TJ was 10 steps ahead of us because he had already done all of the work, done all the research, and we would come at him together, and we would be, let's sit down, let's have this conversation. He's like, you guys are ganging up on me. Let's not do this. So then we really started kind of saying, all right, are you going in? Am I going in? Like, we're not both going in anymore. And I think making TJ feel like, and you did know it way better than we did, but I think letting the kids feel like if they don't maybe know it as well as you do, let them think they know it better than you do, because then they think that you're coming to them for advice. And I think that for kids, that's really important to them. But TJ still knows more than we do, so.
Not just about that.
I'm Alex's grandma. I guess our conversations might be a little different being a grandparent because I'm not the parent, so I try not to step on any toes. But my conversation with Alex, just remind, for me, I care about Alex. So I always, if he tells me a story, well, what did you do? Or who do I care about? So I do go back to reminding him that I care about him. I'm sure I'm probably annoying too sometimes, but we do just, we love them so much and we care about them. And yeah, it could be annoying to them, but they just need to know they're safe and loved. And I think if you don't have that conversation, then you're missing out. That you really need to, if it's not a good time, give them a break and maybe go back to it. But keep that conversation open. I think that's so important.
I'd just like to say one last thing. So I don't care about being annoying. I tell Alex all the time, like, I'm going to be annoying. And as a parent, I say be annoying because had I not been annoying, had I not been snooping in his room, had I not been inquisitive, I could have came home and my child be hanging in the closet. So I say be annoying. That's your job. You're a parent. And one thing that I realize now that I'm in my early 30s, growing up, my grandmother, I was taken out of the home at 7. My grandmother raised me, and she was annoying. And she would always have her old teachings, and she would always say, I know you might not be listening, but you hear me. And I didn't understand what that meant until after she passed away. And then I started to realize that everything that she would say to me, I started doing in my life. And it's like all the teachings that she would say that I'd be like, oh, I don't want to hear you. You're old school, I'm not listening. I started doing with my kids, and I'm like, I wasn't listening, but I heard her. So tomorrow is not promised to any one of us. And if I leave tomorrow, I want my son to know that I love him and that he grows up to be a kind human. That's the only thing I care about. I don't care if you grow up to be a bunny rabbit. I don't care. The only thing that we teach in our house is kindness, and that I want to raise good, kind human beings. After that, I don't care what you do. As long as you're a human being, you're kind to people, and you are just the best version of you. That's all I care about. So I say, be annoying. That's your job.
Thank you all so much for being here. My name's Grad. I represent Racine, so really excited to have Alex and the family here. Y'all are amazing. So question that I have, I'm not on the suicide task force. Obviously, they've been working a lot on policy recommendations and things that we can be doing at the state level. There's obviously a lot of legislators and staff here in the room. What would you say to all of us about also creative ways that we can be engaging in our districts personally? Particularly, I've heard from you all and from other folks that I've worked with in my district that it's just so important to feel like you see other people in the community who have struggled with mental health, who have found ways to be resilient. Talked a lot about this with folks in Racine at the LGBT Center in particular. So are there any things that you all have been part of in your own communities or you think we could be doing to broaden that conversation and make folks feel like they're really part of something that's bigger than themselves?
My recommendation for that would be having a program or like a mental health awareness program or anti-bullying program where you actually follow the rules of that program. So other peers can just go up to somebody and they know that they're in that group and they can just talk to them about that situation and getting to know them on their level, on their basis. And my recommendation for some teachers would be getting to know their students. So if you see a change in behavior or anything like that, you could ask them what is wrong. So you guys could have that conversation.
Yeah, I think it's really important, like you said, to have, that person in your school. I think schools are a huge place because when you're under 18, you're required to be there. Like you have to be there, a certain amount of hours a day. And so I think it's really important that you do have that relationship with somebody in the building. For me, it was my biology teacher. But, there were days where I could just walk into his classroom and he could just tell from my face, like, what's up, like that kind of thing. And so I think it's just really important. And I think as annoying as it may be or as like repetitive as it may be to, just keep pushing stuff out there saying, hey, this is available, this is available, this is available. I think like the thing I've learned from like all of this is like you never know who's taking what in at what point. And so like, there might be a poster up, you might post a poster of the same thing once a week for a month. And I might notice it on week 3 and be like, oh my gosh, I needed that, but I didn't notice it the first 2 weeks, like that kind of thing. And so I think like repetition of your resources is super important because you never know when somebody's going to need something.
I have a question that follows up on what you've been saying. I know for a lot of people, high school and middle school is the worst part of their life. I mean, even at my age, I can think back to some not good things that happened. Let's pretend that this is your school, and this group of people out here are people that were rounded up by your teachers for bullying, and you're sitting in front of them up here. What would your message be to them to get them to understand the significance of what they're doing?
I can.
Go ahead.
Take the spotlight.
Do it. My message for them would be: you may not know what somebody's going home to after being at school for like 8 hours a day. If you're talking about them, they have something going on at home, like their grandma's dying or something. You may not know what could happen to them after that specific day. And if they do something to themselves, it'll make you feel really horrible on the inside, and it'll always be on your conscience. So just always be kind, because you may not know what somebody else is going through.
Yeah, I think in addition to that, I think it's there's a lot I would say, but
There's a lot you have said.
yeah. But I think it's very important just to be able to say, I mean, I've used my social media. Social media is used so negatively towards me at school, but I've used it now, and I actually posted something a couple weeks ago, and it was like a thank you to like the people who bullied me. And, like, I know that sounds so stupid, but like it was a thank you for, they pushed me to my low. Like, I know the lowest of the low. But then I also, know how I built so much resilience. I built so many coping skills. I built so many things like that that are allowing me to live on my own and to thrive on my own in college and that kind of thing. And so I think my biggest thing that I would say is, don't take your own personal misery out on somebody else because it makes you feel better at the time. And I think a lot of it is group mentality. And I think a lot of it is if you're supported by somebody else, if there's a huge group of you, it's way easier to attack one person. But I think a huge thing that I would say is if you're not going to look me in the eyes and you can't say it right to my face with a straight face and actually mean it, then there's no point in saying it in a big group or over a text or that kind of thing. Because if you don't have the backbone to look me in the eyes and say it, then you shouldn't be saying it.
I think I guess for me it's a little bit different. I didn't really go to school as a kid. I did 1 year public school my entire life. That's it. But for me, I would say when it comes to having something to say, I think once I call them glasses. I call them my trauma-informed glasses. And when I'm feeling really low about myself or someone's saying something really mean to me, I put my glasses on. And I look at them and I think, what are you going through? What made you say that to me? What's going on in your life? Because you didn't have the right to say that to me. So something's going on for you. And being able to take that step back and look at them differently actually affects how it made me feel. Because now it's not affecting me as strongly. Because now I'm looking at you. And instead of being angry at you and being more or less hurt, I'm hurting with you. Because if I'm seeing it repetitively, at one point in my life, I was very mean. Because I hurt a lot. And in that way, I guess I was the bully. Because I was very bullied. And I didn't know how to react. And so I wasn't kind to people. And I should have been. And so now, coming from a different point of view, I look at that and I see me. So.
Yeah, I guess I think that I would say I'm sorry that you are so down on yourself that you have to take it out on other people and use their growth and success as building blocks for yourself. And just that it's sad that you've stooped to that level.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think that it's important for people of authority in school districts and just in the community as a whole, but especially in school districts for youth, to make themselves seen with the students. Our assistant principals do a really good job of being out and walking around and engaging with students. Our counselors are very, we see them often. We see them at pep rallies and they talk and the conversation is open just by seeing people more. There's, I forget what it's called, but there's something in psychology where the more you see something, the more comfortable you are with it. And that goes with anything. That's why people tend not to go outside of their comfort zones. It's just because they're more, the more things that when they see something more and more often, it's just what they tend to gravitate towards. So I just think that it's important for people who have the resources to help somebody to make themselves seen, and not even just in a I want to help you aspect, but in a I just want to get to know you and I want to say hi to you every day and kind of just nod at you and smile at you in the hallway and that sort of thing. So.
I'm Representative Snyder from the Wausau area. And, you know, back in my day growing up, I mean, we had landlines, so we didn't have to deal with the social media and the things that you have to deal with today. And I truly think that with social media, it's escalated this problem immensely. Let me ask you this. How can parents, teachers, grandparents help you on your cell phones and your smartphones to be able to, I don't want to say intervene without hurting your privacy? Because a lot of times, you know, you get bullied at school and then you go to your room and you're on your phone and you're getting bullied there. And as parents, we feel helpless because we can't go in, but we don't want to take a look at your phone because it's your privacy. So maybe explain how we as parents, grandparents, teachers, other people could help you in that realm without interfering in your privacy.
I think a big thing is, I think if the person's not necessarily being bullied at the time, I think it's very important just for you to remind them that, hey, you know, I mean, the internet is permanent. Anything you put out there is permanent. That could affect jobs, whatever, in the future. But then also, like, you post something, like, my huge thing is, like, you're going to post something that you would like to see, like, that somebody else posted, like, something that's uplifting or kind or something like that. And so I think if there's no bullying at the time, I think just reminding them that, you know, one kind act can help so many people from so many different views. But I think also, if that person is being bullied, I think it is your right as an authority to be able to say, you know, like my mom would always say, you know, show me those texts, show me those screenshots, that kind of thing. And my mom would always make sure to ask me, you know, what was your part in this? What did you say back? Because, like, she would always say, I can't defend you unless I know the whole story. So if I said something back, she needed to know that, okay, like, I was a part of it, but then, you know, she could always help me. And so I think a huge part of it is just, again, just having that open communication. And I think not that you necessarily need to, you know, just, like, steal their phone and, like, take it and go through it, but I think you have a right as an authority figure, like a parent or that kind of thing, to say, you know, like, let me see, you know, what they said and what that was. And, like, yeah, I didn't let you do that, but but yeah, I don't know. I think it's very important just to be able to say, like, hey, let me see it, instead of, you know, like I said, instead of just taking it and just doing whatever you want with it, saying, like, be honest with me, be upfront, what happened.
Or let's sit down and look at it together.
Yeah.
Not just let me see and kind of just you going through the phones. Let them kind of show you. And I don't know if adults in the room would understand this, but it's kind of like when somebody takes your phone away, it feels like a punishment, because a lot of parents use that as a punishment. Like, oh, you didn't clean your room, give me your phone. Like, you're not having it for the next week. That kind of thing. And so I feel like when you say, let me see your phone, it just, like, as a, like, because of that, it feels like a punishment when they're taking it away from you. So rather just let them kind of show you and sit down with them, and don't, you know, ask if you're sitting next to them, it's easier to just let them kind of show you rather than just, like, taking it and going about it yourself. Another thing that I wanted to say is that I feel as though a lot of adults and my parents' generation tend to blame social media for a lot of things. And while I think that it does impact it, I don't think that it's fair to blame it for something that's always been around and it just wasn't acknowledged quite as much when you guys were in school. And I think that it was more tolerated when you guys were in school. And I don't think that it's fair to say that social media is a cause of that. And I think that social media gets the back end of a lot of arguments that adults try to use, kind of saying that that's the fault, that's what's at fault, because it's easier than saying, you know, I could have contributed to this. And I think that happens a lot with our generation.
Yeah, I mean, you've talked about how it's been helpful for you, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also think a lot too, like for myself, when I first moved to Madison, she kind of became like my grandmother, another woman here in Madison, and she didn't know much about a lot of the things I was doing on my phone. but I think she knew that there was some things that on there that bothered me. And she would like just take interest in trying to learn more about those platforms for fun. Just, even though I'm sure she didn't care sometimes about them, but she wanted to understand where I was, what I was seeing or what I was like, or how that works. Like they made Snapchats. What? And so like my grandparents made Snapchats. I was like, what? But I saw that as them wanting to reach out and like they had fun with it and learning things like that. It made me feel more comfortable showing them more about what's on my phone. Like, oh yeah, here, this is how this works. Like you post it like this or you do it like this. And even just showing them things or feeling more comfortable having you touch my phone. Because even that can feel a little weird. Someone holding your phone, you're just like so I don't know if I'm gonna be so much as like, let me give your phone, I'm gonna put it in my pocket and be like, what phone? But if you want to know more about what we're doing here, yeah, let me show you. Let's do this. Like, yeah, this is how you do this. Isn't that funny? Like, you know what I mean? Looking at things like that, making it more comfortable.
Hi, my name is Avery Wapindo. I'm Alex's father. I just want to piggyback more off what TJ was explaining as far as her question as far as about, I guess, intervening or making sure there's enough programs and the right programs in the local neighborhoods. I agree 100% as far as being seen. High school football events, baseball events, just stopping by at the park where they're playing soccer or football or anything like that, or just showing up to the neighborhood pool, just introducing yourself and letting them know who you are. I guess just sympathizing and, depending on the situation, empathizing with the people you're trying to reach out to. But yeah, I agree 100% with TJ as far as just being seen, just, making yourself available. I understand we're busy people, I guess adults, whatever, but it's just taking the time out your day, 10, 15 minutes, even if it's just going down to the bus station where everybody gets on the bus and just passing your card out or just
I really like that.
introducing yourself. Or whatever.
Especially, I really like that. That just made me really happy. Like your just whole thing about that, especially right now, like living in Madison. Like I know a lot of people that don't have resources, like going to school, but use the bus system or use those things that a lot of people have access to that they don't, and they're not seen because they're in areas or in neighborhoods in like Milwaukee, where I'm from, like that you don't check up on. You don't really. They're not, but some of them have never even left their own little blocks. They have never gone outside of those areas. They have not seen the kindness that there's other people that can show you. Like, you know what I mean? Like having those resources like that in so many different areas is so important. Like, and because I think for me, like why it's so important, because I didn't go to school. I didn't have those same outreaches. I didn't have someone like a teacher check up on me. Some days I couldn't even make it to school because, I watched my own family members not be able to make it to school. They're young. That like I appreciate the people that are around our neighborhood that just check up on them because I'm not able to.
Thanks to everyone so much for coming, and thanks to all of you for being part of it.
I think there's so much that we learn from you, from the documentary, from the time that you spent with us in Ripon, from today has been just awesome. And I think it's wonderful that we've had so many of your folks here because they've been very instrumental in your success, meeting the struggles. And I think that is what has been able to teach us all what's important in helping individuals. So I want to thank all of you for being here. I also want to remind you all that you have the opportunity to take your color to continue the conversation around suicide awareness, being open and upfront and normalizing this conversation. And for those of you that are able and have not had the opportunity for the QPR training, that will take place in this room at 1 o'clock. It's a 90-minute training program, so please come a little early. You will get an actual certificate that you did this training. But again, what Rory and Marianne and Scotty and Milwaukee PBS have put together in this documentary has just been outstanding and very helpful. And the bravery of Raina and Alex and Barrett and TJ is astounding. we need to get Alex and TJ probably back to school. Good luck tonight at your volleyball game, Barrett.
Yes.
And Raina, glad to hear that you're in the neighborhood now in Madison. Stop by anytime. And I'm sure Alex has cards for Build-A-Bowl at the table as you leave. He usually has them along. So
Yes.
thank you all very, very much, and thank you all for participating.
I actually don't have